All right, so I'm joined by Kiko Loureiro of MEGADETH. Uh, you're maybe
Yeah.
the busiest person I've ever met. You just got done in Japan. Don't make that face. You are Japan. Then you come back home and do a 6-hour mentorship with us.
Yeah.
10-minute break, 6 hours. Then Australia, which is
Yeah.
one of the longest flights you can do.
Yes.
Now the
Yes.
States.
Phoenix now.
That's going to lead to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you have a beard? There's just no time to shave anymore?
And maybe, yeah. And then I just did the mentorship now, the other group. I have 2 groups.
So that means you just spent all day doing this.
Yeah, I did 4 hours. And now I'm here with you, only for you.
Because I'm in the mentorship. So nobody reach out. You're not doing interviews right now with channels with no viewers. This is because I'm in the mentorship and I wanted to have an opportunity to talk about some of that and the Guitar Academy.
Yes.
And anything else you want to. We can talk about old Giannini black SGs from 1980.
Yes. Yeah. Why not? We can start there. My first guitar.
There's been a hubbub in the community about a pedal called the Digitech Bad Monkey.
I saw it. I didn't watch the video about it. I've seen some other stuff around it. So I guess it's a great pedal and nobody knew about it. Is it?
Yeah, the moral of the video is use the gear you have. Don't buy a $10,000 clone off reverb or chase trends. Just use what you have and try to find stuff, because the Bad Monkey's been around forever. Nobody cared about it. Caused a lot of drama, but as somebody coming from Brazil like you, where at that time I was watching a thing, I did some research. You were talking about black market Ibanez's and all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like when you hear that, it really puts into perspective people getting so antsy about gear. I mean, we need serviceable gear, but we should really be maybe playing more.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I normally I say, like, whatever live YouTube lives and stuff like that. It's like, it's not about the gear, because it's like you're teaching something which is for me special. Let's say harmony or something cool about the sound of an interval or a melody or a pattern or something, and then what strings are you using, or what's the the wood of is the mahogany, Brazilian mahogany from. It's like, man, it's not about this. I get it. And then I have lots of guitars at home. I love it. Pedals, the whole thing. But it's about your knowledge, your playing, how you play. How you play. So the sound is. I mean, this is a common place. The sound is in your hands. So it's about practicing, getting the best tone you can from the gear you have. That's totally true. And then if you have the money, if you can spend buying trying different things, yes. But in the end of the day, man, if you listen to the great albums, the great players, yeah, they have it's one guitar, right? You have to find that guitar. Sometimes you need to buy few guitars. You have to go through few guitars in your life to find out, that's my guitar, my main guitar. Maybe like the amp you like, maybe it's a Marshall style, maybe it's a Boogie style, maybe it's a Bogner, maybe it's a digital thing. Like I'm using the Quad Cortex. I love Quad Cortex, or a great plugin to play at home. And that's it, man. A tube screamer. Like the tube screamer is always there. Everybody uses the tube screamer. I mean, you can try the distortion, Boss distortion. But if you go back to my early days, I was a middle class family, so I cannot, I was not, like Brazil has so many people, poor people that wouldn't have the access to even to have food, right? So me having a guitar at home is a privilege, right? First of all.
I didn't have the chance to have Fenders, Gibsons, Jacksons, etc. For my guitar, from my guitar heroes, the guitars they were using. So there was this brand in Brazil, Giannini, like Italian name, Giannini. And then my first acoustic guitar. So I started playing, was an acoustic guitar, nylon, classical guitar. I was there already. It was from my family, My aunt had that guitar, so we brought it home. We started having lessons. Was a Di Giorgio, which is another Italian family. So as in New York, some Italians went to New York and started doing like the hollow body guitars, right? And then violins and cellos and that Italian tradition. In Brazil, I think they went there and then they thought, well, we need to build classical guitars because that's the tradition, the European, the Portuguese, Spanish, that tradition that went to South America, right? So there was like three main families: Giannini, Di Giorgio, and Del Vecchio. So all Italian families building great classical guitars, great stuff. I'm talking about the 80s, okay? So, but those companies are, I don't know, 100 years old, right? At some point, they decided to do electric guitar in the 80s because it was, was a thing. So they started making guitars because we didn't have imports in Brazil due to the political situation there. There was no imports, so we couldn't have any international brand like Gibson's, Fenders, and Jackson's, Ibanez. And then my father bought my first electric guitar, which was a Giannini from one of those classical guitar companies that started making. I think Giannini was the only one that kind of switched to electric guitars, and it was decent. It was Japanese hardware because back in the days, the Japanese guitars and hardware was the cheap place, right? China nowadays, right? It was cheaper to have imports from Japan for the hardware, and then Brazilian wood, which is a great wood. Now it's illegal. Brazilian mahogany. So actually the guitar is not that bad. If you think in the comparing what we have today. So it was a black SG. It was I remember going to the store. And there was like this kind of a wine color, kind of a reddish, kind of a Les Paul, Giannini as well, and never Gibson. You would find Gibsons or those brands only through black market. It was too expensive, and I was just a beginner, so no way, But also decent guitar, being fans of it, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, not more Sabbath than AC/DC, I would say, Maiden. So the guy had I like the black color, and then I bought the SG. And yeah. And then the thing was like, you would buy that guitar, and if somebody, like if you're a friend with a bit more money that would go to Florida or something like that, have like a vacation in the US, could bring like a pickup, like so you could switch and have something a bit better, DiMarzio, Seymour Duncan, and stuff like that. So that was the dream, to have a Giannini guitar with like an American pickup. That was it. Yeah, and then I had my mother bought. I remember going with my mother to that store, and then she bought that guitar as a present. Probably birthday, Christmas, and the next 2 years presents all to combine, or something like that. I'm exaggerating a bit, but something like that. And then it's like, but I need an amp. And she didn't know. She didn't think about it. She didn't know, like, what? Because we're like, classical guitar, you don't need extra stuff. No, I need an amp, cable, and a pedal. And that was a surprise. So I had to wait
I mean, the next year or like the next Christmas or something like that to have my first amp. So I don't remember, but maybe for 6 months or a year, I was playing my guitar using the stereo. The sound system. Like, guys, back in the days, you had a sound system. The vinyl, the tape,
The big
and then you have you would have like a mic input. I don't know, for karaoke or something. So I would plug the guitar there. It would sound horrible, but that was it. It's the only way to amplify the sound of the guitar sound, right? So that was my beginning. So then I got that amp, a Giannini amp, again, because that was the only brand. Kind of a copy of a Roland Cube.
Oh yeah.
Right? So like that square, heavy as hell, super heavy. It's like, and then there was no overdrive in that amp. It was clean. So I was like, and now what? So I was playing with the clean tone. And then, so I have some cousins that are half American, right? And I kind of, in the end, it was one of the reasons that I started going to LA. So I have like part of my family half American because the sister of my father used to work in the American embassy in Rio. So she got married with a vet that used to work in the embassy, etc. So one of my cousins, he brought a super overdrive, Boss super overdrive, the yellow one, right, pedal. To have it
right there.
For a few years. Yes, that's the one. That's the
classic.
One. Yeah. So, and then if I try to play with that pedal today, like that's an overdrive. I mean, it's a super overdrive, so a bit more than an overdrive, but this is it's more like a tube screamer. So then, of course, it's difficult because you're trying to play. So I was trying to learn my first, pentatonic scales and stuff like that, and then, and you're listening to Dave Murray or I don't know, like Saxon or Scorpions, and they all have those, I guess, like modified Marshalls with a tube screamer in front and things like that. And I was trying to play those things, or Malmsteen or Steve Vai, later on, and then with that single pedal. And that was pretty hard, but that was it, that was my reference. And then when I was 17, I joined a band. Like the guy was older, Beto, and then he used to fly to Florida to bring some, more professional equipment because that was what was happening back then. And then he brought a Marshall head, a 50-watt JCM 800, which I regret so much that I sold that thing. I don't remember when I sold. Back in the day, it's like JCM 800 50-watt. Amazing.
That must have been like the angels are singing in the clouds part when you get that. It's like in Scarface, in this movie Scarface, they're doing smuggling drugs from Cuba. You guys are doing pickups.
Yeah, I can put it like that,
Well, so you have some dude paying $10,000 for a clone that's just like it's a bad monkey, and look at what you had to go through just to get that JCM.
Yeah, man, I can't go. I can't tell all those stories. No, yeah, but it was the only way because so many stories of the professional bands going to New York or Miami, I guess, and to buy stuff. Because we didn't have it. And then, but I was a kid, so for me it was we knew it was a black market but I mean we didn't feel we were doing something wrong. It's different than selling drugs or stuff like that.
That's what makes it funny is like you guys. It's not even drugs. It's like we want to do music.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's black market because it's not coming through a distribution paying the import tax and things like that. But back then was not, there's no distribution. there was no companies doing that. It was illegal to import. Was a way to defend the industry of the country. And then because of that, you have Giannini, you have Del Vecchio, you have those companies. And then the same goes for amplifiers, the same goes for speakers. And then we developed industry of cones and speakers and amplifiers for cars, and of course for guitars. That that's like it's not the main thing in a country, right? But that's the idea when you close the market. But of course, you lose the technology. And then for a musician that wants something a bit better, and then you have to and then also you're listening to some your heroes. You watch the videos or whatever the pictures, and you see them using Gibsons, Fenders, Jacksons. That was like the main guitars from when I started. Then I got, when I was 16, 17, Ibanez was the guitar. So my dream was to have an Ibanez, not a Gibson or Fender. Well, Gibson as well, because I have the SG, I would say. It's funny, right? Mm-hmm. I guess like the Gibson was an important thing, but then the Ibanez, because of Satriani, Vi, Paul Gilbert, Greg Howe, I guess most of those guys, Gibson because of Sabbath, because of Scorpions, Judas Priest. Then you have the Gibson brand as well. Like I would love, but the Gibson was like so out of reach.
I mean, for some of us, that still is.
Yeah. So I mean, for a kid from Brazil, like Gibson, like crazy, so impossible. That's why it was like Ibanez, like the RG was. I remember paying $800. And this is like 89, somewhere there, And yes, I was like, somebody called me and said like, hey, there's a guy that has one Ibanez. It was like the guitar in a city like São Paulo. It's like now it's 10 million people. So like a LA size city. There's one guy that has one guitar.
So you must have ran to that.
And then it seems like the guy brought for somebody, and then this guy just didn't pay or something like that. So the guy had the guitar and wanted to sell. And then, so I went, so we like, I don't remember, like we called, and then we set this meeting point in a parking lot on a Sunday, because it was empty. The parking lot was like a parking lot of like a Blockbuster, VHS store kind of thing, like renting VHS renting a big one. So it was kind of a big parking lot for 20 cars or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I went there. The guy opened the trunk of the car. It's like, and then he opened this, like, just proved the guitar was inside the case, because you could buy the case with the stones inside,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like this. So he opened it. Was this pink? It's the red flare. I think that's the color. Red flare. You can find it. They re-released this guitar, Ibanez RG 550. And then back in the days, it was like Steve Vai, Van Halen, super colorful, when it was yellow, green, and pink, and the whole thing. So yeah, it's like, oh, perfect. And then so I bought $800, and I have like this paper bag with the cash,
like coming out of the jacket with it and looking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, because they're also afraid that somebody's going to steal the money, right?
Yeah.
The guy has a friend somewhere that's going to get the money, and then, keep the money and the guitar. Good days of there. Now, nowadays we have a Reverb and Ibanez, eBay and all those companies helping us to avoid this situation. Well, back in the day, man, like just meeting a stranger. But yeah, I was so happy. You have no idea. So happy. And I still have both guitars. The Giannini, the black one, and this Ibanez. The Ibanez I rebought because I sold back in the day. Yeah, I sold the guitar. Yeah, I sold the guitar to a student. He bought, and then years later, many years later, I was in a restaurant. The guy came. He's like, "Oh, do you remember me?" And then was my student from the like 91 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, I still have your guitar that I bought, remember? And then I right away said, I want to buy it back. And then, yeah, they go, oh, it's cool. He bought it back. I bought it back, you know.
Well,
So
I wanted a 550 in the 90s when I was a kid. And my dad was the king of getting me enough of what you want to where you can't complain because it's so nice. Like I wanted the Tama drum set because Lars played that. And I got a Pearl. And it's like you can't complain. So I got the Red Beach Ibanez. Do you remember that thing?
the red, yeah, is the one that had like a cut.
It had the cut behind the Floyd, and it had gold hardware. It was like I was a pimp or something. But I really wanted the RG so bad. But it was a good guitar.
Yeah.
But Nuno Bettencourt played Eddie Van Halen's rig once and sounded like Nuno Bettencourt, and Eddie played his rig and sounded like Eddie. So I don't think it's this pedal hubbub and everything. I think people hearing your story about how that gear was so hard to come by and how it's all in the playing. And we don't need to surf reverb. I have a friend that just tone chases all the time. He's just constantly trading equipment. And I'll be like, hey, did you practice today? No, my guitar is in the case. I can't get it out because of the humidity. It's like, well, you better buy an amp or something then to fix that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fetish of having things, right? Mm-hmm. And it's cool to have a collection. I think it's part of the human beings to collect things. Mm-hmm. So it's good to have a collection of pedals, collections of guitars and amps, and having everything like hanging on the walls and things like that. And it looks amazing and beautiful. I like that. Sometimes I buy some guitars, I don't need to buy guitars. But sometimes I feel like I need to buy a guitar. It's like stupid. It's part of the being a musician, I guess. Is the money goes into that passion. But I also like to pay education, to pay for education, and I think this is more important. Mainly if you want to be a musician, or if you want to learn music. You don't need to be a professional musician, but if you want to learn and how to play and be a good player and to play like your heroes or to discover music, I think education is where you should place your money, right? Mainly if you want to be a professional musician, and if you're a great musician, you're going to get all this gear for free. Don't worry. Just practice, because then those companies, they need you, right? Or you get paid and you buy your equipment. But education for me was first. So I always had teachers, right? I always had teachers.
Some famous ones.
My main teacher, so I had the first teacher, like classical guitar, when I was a kid. Then I moved to a local school. So the name, the too bad I don't remember the surname of those people, those guys, because we used to call them by the first name. One was Pedro, the other one's Celso, but I don't remember their last name, so I could find those guys.
Pedro, is it Pedro Bueno and Mozart Moyel, or Mello?
The Bueno. This is like this Pedro Bueno is in the internet.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but it's like such a common. It's like Smith,
I was going to say that sounds like John Doe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then when I was 15, like a crazy entrepreneur guy. So everything was closed, right? The imports, right? I was 15, and then a great guitarist that became a great friend. And a great guitar player, and they decided to start something like AMI in Brazil, like a musicians institute, only for guitar. And then they was in a beautiful house, like the best part of the city, and they had like this classes full of marshals. Like in those days, it was like, what? So I went to that school and lasted for a year or something, because it was like, was not I think the business would never happen.
Mhm.
You know, it didn't make sense, but it was a fun time. And there was this teacher, Mozart, just like the great composer
Mhm.
from Salzburg, Mozart, Amadeus Mozart. So Mozart Mello, and he's a great teacher. He's still teaching. He's an amazing teacher. And then I got to he was my teacher at that school, and then I got some private lessons with him, and then I had lessons with him for many years, maybe 4 years, 5 years, weekly, and then twice a month, I guess. But always learning from him. And then he was like very methodic and very open. So learning from jazz, metal, bossa nova, everything. I learned a lot from harmony, all the scales, everything, improvisation. So that was my main teacher. Then I had, then I remember he had some other musicians that he respected. So I went to have some lessons with another guy. And then the later I start, and I did some theory lessons. I remember I did. So I tried to get into the university, music university, and then I like the public university. So I have to do like a test to be accepted. So I was accepted, and then I did for a few months. Then I gave up because I thought it was too boring and too slow. Because I was having lessons with this teacher, Mozart, and that was like exciting. It was like, let's learn this phrase from Alan Holdsworth, this chord from Pat Metheny, or this harmony from Jobim, and then like this classical music, super slow. It's like, oh no, this is not for me. And I was doing biology university at the same time, so like guitar, biology, and music. So I had to to stop one of them. So I stopped the music university. I kind of regret in a way, because it would be cool to have this knowledge. But what I did was I got one of the famous teachers from the university, like a guy that was like very open-minded with jazz, and then people liked the guy. And then I got private lessons with him. So I used to go to his house, and then I learned a bit of counterpoint and those things, that you learn, I guess, if you're in a university, listening to classical music, analyzing some stuff, and, mainly counterpoint, I remember. So I got more into the passion of listening to classical music because of this teacher. So at the same time, I was having the guitar lesson. So it was a good way to do it. Later on, I started having piano lessons with another great teacher that I had for a few years. And during the pandemic, I reconnected and had some music lessons like 2 years ago or a year ago.
Yeah.
Sylvia Goyce. She's great. She's a mix of a music teacher and a psychologist, music psychologist. If
That sounds handy. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's more, a lot of times at some, when you're starting, I think it's about the technique. People think it's about the equipment, right? Once you have like equipment that is comfortable, you have a guitar that feels comfortable. It doesn't need to be an expensive guitar, and you have a decent, and can be even like nowadays you can have like whatever, a small amp or like a plug-in. That's it, right? That sounds good. It's okay. Good cable, so don't need to be buying new cables all the time. That's it. Then you can practice metronome or like tune tracks or some cool drums, that you can play, create your own backing tracks, or just go to YouTube and play along. You don't need much. It's more, so in the beginning, it's technique, learning. In the beginning, a few years to learn harmony, scales, slowly you get there. But at some point, it's about the mentality. Because if you want to compose, or if you want to feel free to improvise, it's here. It's like feeling feeling, that you're in a safe environment and feeling confident. Because come on, you can, like most of the rock and roll songs, they have like 2 chords, 4 chords. It can be the great solos of all times in rock. It's like basically the A minor pentatonic. It's not complex stuff. We're talking about pentatonic, which is like the most organic, basic scale. So like that comes from the harmonic series. So like it's very natural for us to understand. At some point when you get the mechanics, you're ready to write your own solos, right? So it's here. It's like to try it. It's not great in the beginning, but at some point, try. So for me, having some lessons about this at some point in my career was very good. It helped me a lot to be a composer, because I think my first 10 years as a professional guitar player, I was writing some stuff in Angra, but not much. So like more guitar riffs, more like guitar stuff, cool guitar parts, things like that, but not full song. I didn't feel like I'm a composer, But then I think having when the piano, I got the piano into my life, and then having those lessons with Sylvia, this teacher, it helped me a lot because I was more here. And then I was like, because I had the technique already.
Yeah.
I knew harmony, the names, the 2-5-1, 4-5, Plega, whatever, things that I teach a lot in the Guitar Academy. And I think this is very cool to know. But at some point, how do you get all this information and write your own thing? Something that you like, something that you feel it's you, and you don't feel ashamed. Or because sometimes there are great players, they don't create music. They don't have their own albums, or they don't have their own songs, which is, it's fine. You don't need to. But I think there's a great value in expressing yourself. And that's something that I do in the mentorship. As you know, I try to, and I believe everybody can. That's my everybody can. Nowadays, man, everybody can. I mean, for the last 5 to 10 years, everybody can do it, because you have the technology to help you, right? Fix the stuff. Because think about a composer like Mozart or a composer. It doesn't mean they know how to play. They have a vision. They create something, and then they bring the great musicians to play what he's imagining here. So you can do the same with technology now. Let's say you're a guitar player and you have a riff. You can play kind of okay, not amazingly, but then you can go with a producer, or, you can learn how to do yourself, but you can go to a studio and with the help of the producer or the technology, fixing the mistakes or repeating until you get 100%. You can put your riff down, and then you just call a great drummer, and then you have a great song. You have a song. And that is yours. And then the greatness of the song is because it's yours. You created it. And then that's what I do in the mentorship, to take this block. It's like, you can do it. Some people are not ready. So then you listen to the idea. I don't see anything there yet. Keep bringing ideas. When you find something, it's like I have some great examples there. And some other guys in the mentorship are already professional, so then it's a different kind of conversation. But we can go through here some great examples of. Your friend Michael Cottrell, he's a manager in a painting company, right?
Oh, you got a YouTube guy in there and a different group.
Many different examples. But let's Michael, that you know him. It's like, it's a great, he was showing his riffs, like, maybe you need a second part because only one riff might not be enough for a song. Okay, come back, second part. Oh, what about if you change the key? Because whatever. You can say some stuff, directions, never interfering. Just like, what about this? Listen to this album. What? Listen to this song. What the artist you like? You like this So pay attention what this guy that you like, how he builds his own songs.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So try to do something in your song like that. Great. So that's the way we work in the studio. So now get a producer, boom, and then book the stuff and do it. And that is a lot of pressure. Even if you're you're not a professional, you have another job, but you have some time to dedicate to music. I think it's so more. That's my belief. It's so more special to do something like that, or like you creating your YouTube channel to talk about music, to talk with musicians, and to play and do whatever you want to do. Express yourself through a social media channel like YouTube, or record your own song, or whatever it is. But connect yourself with art. It's so much better than buying a third guitar, a fourth guitar. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's a limit of buying things. It's like you want your 10th guitar? So like, for what?
There's a book called Happy Money.
Happy Money.
It's just a small book, but it's about, they did a lot of studies, Harvard and all these other universities, that people were happier spending money on experiences, not things. And Michael had told me that he looked at it like, instead of buying a guitar, he's buying a vacation, an experience. It's not a vacation, but it's the same thought process. You save up, you do the mentorship if you get in, and then there's no way I'd be doing this. I have a little bit of social anxiety. This is the last place I thought I'd find myself, but the mentorship led me here. And
amazing.
Yeah. And so when you have a passion for teaching music, your face lights up. It's happened a few times here, even when you're talking about certain things. Is that why you started the Guitar Academy? Is you just have a passion to teach and you just want as much people as they can playing?
Exactly. I mean, I started the teaching thing. It started when I was, when I was 16, I guess. Some friends asked me. I was already playing some, better than my friends. Not great, but better than my friends. And then they asked me, like, can you teach me some stuff? I pay you. So I saw it was a way to get some extra money, so I could buy some strings and maybe save some money for another pedal, or stuff like that. So started like that, and then I always liked the academics in music. I always liked reading books, understanding theory, harmony, how, analyzing music structure or whatever, different styles of music. I always liked. So, and then I started teaching. So I think if you like the academics of music, you will enjoy teaching, because it's a way for you to exercise those thoughts of those structures and processes and stuff. So I start. So it was a combination of getting some money, and then later, Angry started. I was 19, so I was teaching already a little bit. Then it just evolved to have a bit more students. But I remember back in the days, I never had more than one day of students. So I remember I had a full day of students, private students, right, in the 90s. Never more than that, because I wanted to play live. I wanted to tour and do all the stuff, right? And then I thought that if I start searching for that money from the lessons, I would be like teaching every day. And then my goal was to be a touring musician. So, but the education was always there. And then after, with Ibanez or other brands, the Dario, Laney amps, and so I started doing guitar clinics, which is a combination.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a performance, but also you can teach. It depends where you're doing the clinic. If you're doing in a club, it's more like a performance. If you are in a theater, you might answer questions, Q&As, right? If you are in a university or in a music school, then it goes full on more academics or about techniques and stuff like that. So I started doing this quite a lot.
was a good thing to do while on tour, and it's a way to travel and connection with brands. As I told you, if you practice enough, you might connect to a brand that needs you to use their instruments. So now you get the instruments for free, and they pay you to play their instruments, and then you can travel the world playing their instruments and talking about music and playing your own music, because now it's about selling the instruments and not about the songs. So you can play in the clinics, you can play your own music, whatever you want to play. If you want to play the blues, you want to play your own songs or covers, it doesn't matter. The main thing is like to show to show the equipment. So I started doing this a lot. So it was cool. And then I was invited to do some. I don't know. Actually, I did a VHS instructional video in '91. So my first time, I was like 19. And I was young. I was like so shy. I was like horrible. It was a horrible experience for me because I was so shy. I was just playing guitar in my bedroom with no internet, social media. So like a camera, like those big things.
Yeah.
Like a monster. It's like horrible. I think I didn't even have a camera to take photos at home. So it was like a very a scary thing to do that video. So I did it because my teacher, Mozart, he was the guy and then there doing videos because he was like the top guy there in São Paulo as a teacher. And then he said, well, if you want a kid playing rock really well, that's this guy called Kiko. And then that's why the company called me. And then I went there and did it. You can find on my channel those videos.
And I will. It's going to be in this probably.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I have this pink guitar. Anyway, so I started there. So I had this educational, academics in a way mix. So that's why I have that's VHS evolved to DVD and then evolved to the online. So it was a natural thing, but I never stopped doing my music, or in the case now, playing with Anger or playing with Megadeth, like touring and playing live. So part of my passion, and clinics whenever possible. I still do some clinics. So now then I build the Guitar Academy, which is that's more work because when you go online, you might have more people, right? Interacting. Mm-hmm. It's not like a private lesson. So now you have more people, different tastes, and I want to please everybody. So like,
do that.
So some people are like, I think it's pretty cool. It's slowly building a nice community of people that wants to play, feel empowered is the word to
I
play.
can help you here. Let me help you here. I joined, I think it was 2020. And I think you were selling it by course. So I got, not hacks, I got 7-factor, which was the best one I've ever seen on understanding the modes. Nice. And there's a lot of depth to it, especially when you have to learn the triads inside the shapes. And that really helped me learn how to deal with that. But now you have a Discord that has a life of its own. Those guys get up every morning at Sunday. For some of them, that's late at night. This is diverse all over the country. And they break down jazz standards.
Yeah.
It's not part of your curriculum. It's just they're doing that because we had a functional harmony masterclass, which that's important. Every month you do a Zoom, most months, where we all can get a lesson from you. Yeah. And that's one unique selling point to your academy that, like ArtistWorks' unique things, the video exchange. You have these meetings. There's contests. There's so much more going on than just the coursework. And you're deconstructing your songs.
Yeah.
You let us... what really struck me was the improv competition. You gave a plugin away.
Yeah.
I came in second place and didn't try because so many people, I think, were afraid. And none of us followed the rules. That was also funny. We immediately... You said, here's the rules, use a vamp an idea over and over again, or just target the triads, outline the chords, and we're all wanking on pentatonics the whole time. But the guy that beat me just did it like 3 or 4 more times. It's that resistance thing that I talk about all the time.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah. As I told you, I've been teaching here and there, or clinics, or the private lessons back in the days, and I like the academics, and I think it's fun for me because I use all those things. Everything that I teach, I learned 30 years ago, believe it or not. Like, but then since then, I've been using those tools, that knowledge, writing songs, listening to music, and observing. It's like how people use those tools.
Mhm.
How a 4/1 appears in metal. A 4/1 is like the cadence, like a fourth chord to the tonic. It's like in metal, how does this work? And then like Elton John music or Queen or in classical music. So you have the experience, and then when you write a song, you use that tool, the 4/1, because you want that sound. And then I can write a song with that thing. So you start developing that skill of using the knowledge to your own music.
An ear.
And I think this is very powerful because then it's like everything's clear. If I want to feel like this, I use this. If I want to feel like this, if I want to sound like this, I use this. So it's like, the easy comparison with colors. If you want something bright and shiny, you just use red and yellow and gold and silver, or
Yeah.
if you want it dark, and you use the black and purple and dark blue, so the stuff and you use it. So the fun thing in the academy is like, how can I make this easier for people to understand? And then every time you just said about the 7th factor is me teaching the modes, right? And then I've been using this thing called the modes, and people get confused. And then I got confused when I learned like 30 years ago. I was super confused. So I was there. It's like, no, people cannot wait a few years to review this. This is not complicated, but you need some time. So how can I teach this in a way that people understand? And like right there. And what kind of exercises will make the person understand this? That's why the improv competition, which I don't like the term competition, but have to use sometimes, because music is not a competition. That's why the winner is the guy who played the exercise. Is not the best player. The winner for me is the guy who tries the thing for real, because through pain, because some of the exercises you have to go, it has to be difficult and has to be painful. It's like, I cannot do this. And then go to the pentatonic. It's like, no, that's exercise, because once you go through that, it's like, oh, now I can see, because if you have more control of whatever it is, control of the playing only the intervals, or that's only triads, or improvising only using 3 notes, or things like that. It's simple to mention here, but it's difficult to play for 5 minutes using only one thing. And then that's the winners. For me, the winners are the ones that do the exercise. Because they trust that this is going to lead them to a good result.
I think the competition aspect really was with ourselves. We were competing with our selves and our fear of upload. And I think that's a great thing you did is to just upload, because you don't judge our playing. I think that's a misconception people have. Maybe the worst one, but it's not about that. And the mentorship isn't either. And I want to kind of segue to that, because it is an exclusive thing. You don't want a lot of people, but you're not judging them. For example, it's not just for guitar players. It could be a mix engineer. It could be anything. It's a music career development. What got you doing that?
Because I did a mentorship about marketing the internet at some point, and I saw the model. I thought, oh, that's cool. So most of the educational things in music, YouTube stuff and courses and stuff, is for the base of the pyramid, like the beginners, right? It's always like this. So that's you have a bunch of people. There's like the Fender CEO, I guess, he did a research, and 90% of those beginners, they give up in the first year. So then we are the survivors, right?
Mhm.
You and me, like we played more than 1 year. We're like, and let's say like more than 5 years, like maybe 1%.
Mhm.
So I'm talking to this 1% because I'm talking to all the guys in the, and then you have beginners, and it's fun, but it's okay because everybody have music in their lives. It's not a thing for a year gonna buy an acoustic guitar because I saw Taylor Swift playing guitar and I want to play guitar as well. And then I have to practice. No, I'm with the group who have the in the Guitar Academy, students in general, and then in the mentorship, it's people that have music in their lives.
Mhm.
And then I start meeting those people in the mentorship. I love having non-professionals. I discovered that in the beginning, when I had the idea, I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring like all the pro guys, professional guys that I can bring them to the next level. The mindset of how to get endorsement deal, how to get a better contract, how to talk to this person, the music business side of things, right? So that was the first idea, a bit more business oriented. What happened was a guy that the first click was a guy that was an engineer. And then he came and then he said, I'm not a professional musician, but I would like to join the mentorship. And then I was about not to accept him because I have to accept. I check the person. And then I thought, but he had a great story. He said his father passed when I was young, and his father was left a cassette tape, with 4 songs that the father composed. I don't know, in the 80s or something. And he had that tape, and he wanted to record those songs.
Oh,
And I thought, oh, I can help you. I can help you. Come to the mentor, because I thought this is a very touching story, really beautiful story, and that I can help the guy. Because he's not he was an engineer, has a business, building houses and stuff, real estate stuff. All right, so he came in 6 months. He released the album. He recorded the 4 songs. Pedro Vefort. I can't put his name if you. There, his song, and then we discussed about, as an engineer, the engineers, they think I can record myself. Like, man, if you want to do this, let's go to the studio. Let's get a producer, somebody, let's do this. And then what kind of music do you like? How do you want to do the arrangements? It's only about mindset and conversation. It's not. He's going to learn how to play the song. It's not me. I'm not teaching how to play the song. It's more like how to do, where to go, which studio. Let's see. Choose the musicians that's aligned with the song, the father taste, because he will talk about, and then his taste, and then also like the artwork, and then the cover is like his face from an old picture from the father. That was amazing, and then the 4 songs, and then I saw, like, you know what, the non-musicians, they just, at least the engineers, right? So, and I have some other ones like that. So they just do the job better than musicians. Musicians just like, I want to do this. I want to have a YouTube channel. No, my Instagram. I want to buy a new guitar. I want to tour with this band. I have another band. I have a cover band. I have this. So the musicians, sometimes they do a lot of stuff at the same time. I'm included. And then we got lost. We can't get lost. You get a guy that is more like a manager in a company, or like an engineer or something, a tech guy. It was more like diligent. Okay, Kiko, tell me what to do. I have to do this. Okay, done. Next, done. Next, done. And 6 months, the album was there. In this case, he had the songs already. Some other case, like Michael Cottrell, Rajiv is a Google engineer that he recorded 1 song. It's doing another 4 songs now. So, and many other examples. so they can finish the thing, and then they're not professional musicians. So it's not about how to get your new endorsement. So I discovered this, and I thought, oh, that's cool. So I can help people that has the music passion. They have another job because at some point they were musicians or they wanted to be musicians. So at some point they have another passion, engineering or business, or and then family, kids, wife, and then at some point they come back to music. So like, you know what? No, I want to do more with music, And I think it was a lot of during the pandemic that happened a lot as well.
For me, my cousin died a few months before the pandemic.
Wow.
And I hadn't played since 2007. And he was the guy that got me into skateboarding and music. And the Big Four was a big part of it. I remember him playing all of Countdown for me in my grandma's basement. So I bought his son was selling you might like this. He was selling his Jackson that his dad bought him so he could buy a classical guitar because he wanted to play classical music.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought that old thing, and here I am. Wow. And the mentorship, really, you say it's career development, but it's more, I think, you're just pushing us towards our goals. It doesn't have to be a career.
No.
And it used to be the only way to have a career in music would be to get famous. And you're kind of helping us not have to be, I don't have to get signed to a label. I don't have to try to I don't have to tour. I'm too old to tour. Can't do it. Probably.
Another example, just released, Jimmy just released an amazing, a prog, song, and Derek Sherinian playing that. We put in contact Matt, I did a solo for him, and then I put in contact with Marty Friedman. Has a Marty Friedman solo, so I kind of help to make those things happen. When is the case of recording a song, or because I did this, and my story is I joined the Angra, so I was very young, the whole band was young, and then we kind of had some pretty good success. We got the gold disc in Japan, first album, 93. Brazilian band, besides Sepultura, there's not many bands. And then we did cover South America, a bit Europe, not in the US. But then I remember in 2004, so 11 years later, of the first album of Angra album, I did my first solo album. And I was always a big fan of those guitar albums. Jeff Beck, Steve Vai, and Satriani. And I always wanted to do a guitar album, but I didn't have the courage. So it took me 11 years to be I'm ready for this. And then it was also because we had the singer had some problem with his voice, so we had to postpone the recording of the Angra album. So it kind of suddenly I had 2-3 months open. What are we going to do now? We're going to do my album, finally. So that's the time. And then I went in and I did No Gravity. So it's a full instrumental album. And I didn't care about the record label, who's going to like it, because I just wanted to do it. And I remember when I recorded, it was very painful because it's very hard to put your songs, and then the fear of being rejected. This fear is I'm sure that, I don't know, Bill Gates has it, or everybody has it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, the fear of being rejected. So I did my songs. It's good. It's not that pressure, but okay, you let it go and you do it. And then suddenly the album's out. And then people say oh, it's great. People like it. And then I remember the first interview I did, the guy asked, the first question the guy asked, why the world needs another instrumental guitar album?
What the hell? Why doesn't it?
Journalists, come on. Journalists. But that was good. And then it was a very good question, because I said, because that's my music. That's me.
Yeah.
I know, because if you have this feeling, well, so then it stopped in Jimi Hendrix. So who's going to record after Jimi Hendrix? You don't need it. So who's going to record after? Okay, then you start going backwards. Who needs to record, create any music after Chopin or after Beethoven, and then go back? No, because
there's 12 notes, and we've used them all. Shut it all down. We've used all 12 notes. We're out.
No, because that's the way it's about you to express yourself with the same term, with the same C major, G major chord. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you feel great playing C major, and you feel like great, and you want to record that how great you feel about this, like why not? Because it's about you feeling great. And then when you feel great and you talk about your perspective of the world, whatever it is, if instrumental is music, if you have lyrics and you can describe whatever you feel it's beautiful, you describe with your music through your channel. Great.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of music. And then some people will listen if you have some money to invest in marketing, if you do something a bit different, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. This is like a second thing. You just do it because you believe you need that, and then that's what I think. That's when I did my first solo album, and I was doing album with Angra, and it was great as well. But then I was like, I can do this by myself, like 100%. Was a next level for me, 2004, and I felt so good. It was about my feelings. It's not about the money, or you do get money. No, the money was like more with Angra doing the concerts. Actually, I don't know, but in the end, the thing paid. I was able to pay the cost of the production, the whole thing, and then I sold the album, etc. But it was not about the money. Never. It's not about the equipment. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
That album I recorded with 3 guitars and 1 amp.
And that's still a great record that people still listen to.
You guys can go there and check it out. So I had a Gibson Explorer. So I was using a Brazilian handmade guitar, Tajima. So as a Strat in my model, my signature model. I had 3 guitars. So a Gibson for the rhythms, a Strat for like a Strat sound, and a guitar more like super Strat kind of a Ibanez vibe.
So we're way away from
Boogie, because the Mesa Boogie was the only amp in the studio.
Yeah, and you're way away from Smuggling Pickups at this point.
No, yeah.
With your
I decided to record it with the Angra producer, Dennis Ward, and I was in Germany, so I couldn't bring my amps. Dennis would be too much. So the studio had a Mesa Boogie, so like, well, that's what we have it. That's it. And then was like, there was a Sans amp as well, so we use a bit of a Sans amp, Tube Screamer, a Crybaby. That was it. The full album. So I mean, is an album that we're gonna discuss about the tone of the guitar? No, I played the bass. Is it a great bass performance? No, but that's my music. I was so happy that I could play the bass there. So it's about how you feel, and then of course I think though that the album is a great album. I believe.
Yeah. And I'm not going to keep much more of your time, but I wanted to open source. You gave the stems out with that, your latest one, and I listened to that a lot in 2020, especially Imminent Threat. But what led you to the first band I ever heard of giving the stems out was Trenton Reznor with 9 Inch Nails. Okay. I've never seen, and I might be wrong, but it's rare for a solo guitar player to give the stems out and go, here, do what you want with this, including getting rid of my playing. It's such a cool idea. How'd you get to that?
I was like thinking about maybe it was Kanye West. Maybe he said something about why music is going down, right? Because we're talking about why people don't give as much value to music and more to games, more to other stuff. And then one of the reasons would be because software, games, devices, they get up to date every year, every other year. So there's always an evolution. So we'll buy, you have the OS, and then in a month comes an update, and then it keeps updating. It's always better. In music, no. Once you record, that's it. You cannot go back. I cannot go back to my album No Gravity and make it better. because now the technology is better. It is what it is. I cannot practice more and make it better. It's there. It's fixed. It's a point in time. And that's the beauty of music. So you have to respect when you listen to Star to Heaven with that recording quality, when you listen to whatever, Sgt. Pepper's with that sound. That's the beauty of music and the recordings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you listen to Charlie Parker in the 40s, with that's the quality you had back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this, like, okay, that's one thing. So how can we evolve that the music is free to evolve to a next level? You can think about technically the recording techniques and equipment, but also the playing. So why I record a song and then I will say that's my best, and that's the best solo or melody for that song. I don't know. That's my idea on that day.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea for a melody. Here it is. Record. I have an idea for a solo. Here it is. Record it. But internet is about community and sharing ideas to create something way more advanced and bigger and colorful. So if you share the stems, you're opening for somebody to create something better than you. And this is very humbling because it's like the opposite of a rock star. Because a rock star would put something and say, like, I'm the rock star. Nobody's going to do better than me. But
yeah.
The opposite would be like, hey, guys, that's what I'm able to do now. And here is the stems. And please, I know you guys going to do better than me. So that's the mentality. When you open and say, like, this is an open source, and I know the group of people will create something way better, that multiple brains create something better than one brain. And that's why the mentorship is, because the mentorship is not only about musicians. And then I like smart guys like you, intelligent people like you, to bring point of views different to the group. It's not only me. And then another thing about the mentorship is, like, I want to be your second brain. I have my experience in this. So you have an idea, I can tell you, like, oh, this is great. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you go to this side, to this way? Or why don't you bring these people with you, because it's going to be better and faster, etc. So yeah, that was the open source album idea. In a way, it's kind of bringing this, thinking about the internet as a whole. So all the songs, they have some connection with the lifestyle we have nowadays, with the social media, internet, with integrated in our life. So that's why I have open source. Okay, so it's open, so anyone can create something better. That's why YouTube is an amazing platform, because there's always somebody creating something so cool, it's special, and that you, or like the memes, like how people have the time to do this, right? So how people can have the time to, I don't know, like record, get a song in the style of Nirvana, get a, like people doing this stuff, or like whatever, doing mashups and things like that, and creating amazing stuff. So I wanted to be part of that. But then the internet has something bad, which is like this, it's like a drug. You're dependent. You can be frustrated. You can be, so that's the bad side. So that's the song Independent Mind, EDM. So I did a music video, kind of shows that thing. I brought Marty Friedman as a guest, because I thought, like, in the internet, in my last 7 years, every time it has a line in a blabbermouth or something like that, I have the Marty Friedman name in the same paragraph, right?
They do that to your boss, Dave, all the time.
Exactly. So like Dave. So that's the how SEO functions. So we mention people around or whatever. So that's suddenly my life was like, okay, this guy, Marty Friedman, that I met a few times, like can consider him my friend. And I've been playing his solos. And that's like, oh, that feels very close, because I'm playing his music as well. So I thought, well, and then it was the internet that brought also this feeling, right? And then I asked him to play a solo, mainly to prove, because when you go to the internet, people start like comparing.
Even right now, I did a video on that, and the first comment I got was, "Oh, I bet Kiko's worried." It's like, do you understand what Marty is in Japan? Like, not to you, to this guy, it's like they're friends and they're professionals, but Marty is a legit TV star over there.
Yeah. He's like,
he's
totally.
where he wants to be, and that was great to see. He was having a great time up there, jumping. He was really animated. It was awesome. But it's like even after you did that, it didn't fully take. But can people get those stems now? And
go to my name.com, KikoLoureiro.com. You'll find there.
And then your Instagram, you will commonly do. I remember once. This story's not going to go where people think it is, but I was in bed, and you went live, and you just set your phone up on side stage and just played a whole set with your phone.
I did it. Yeah.
Or you'll do an Ask Me Anything, and you'll answer the questions, even the fanfic shit that's dangerous, that you should stay away from. And then your YouTube has so much behind the scenes. Your Beato interview you just did, which people should watch, the most replayed part is when he asked you about the jams with James and Dirk, and then you talking about jazz.
Cool.
I was researching before this and thought you might want to know. That's what people, we all love the jamming stuff, but if anybody, because there's no Megadeth questions in this interview, it's your socials cover that. They almost should be paying you a social media fee for the amount of stuff. But
yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped now, like this month, because it's a lot of work. You get tired to add that to the touring life.
Yeah, so you're touring, mentorship, Guitar Academy, and I want to close this with something
and
special.
Three kids.
That's what I'm going to go to next for the end, because this thing that just happened was very cool. And you're also investing in stuff. So what I mean is, like, you're really busy, very entrepreneurial, and very passionate about this stuff. And that's what drew me to your mentorship, is just the smartness of it, but also the passion. I was watching a video where you were talking to Andy James.
Yeah.
And you were so happy to sit down with him and just have him show you stuff. It was like that part of you still there, even though you're Kiko Loureiro up here right now, there's still that beginner mindset, I think, which is so important for us to keep. But my youngest daughter was born in 2011 in September. And you have a daughter around the same time, and you wrote something way back then. Explain that, because this is a truly cool story.
Yeah, so cool. It's like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So the first kid, man, was like a big change. People say, "Oh, it's gonna change your life," but it does. So I wrote. I was about to write. I was writing songs I was writing songs, and then it turned to be the album called Sounds of Innocence. And then there's one song there, A Perfect Rhyme, and there's another one there that was like playing the melody in the piano, guitar. So I have this little baby, this little girl here, few months, and then for some reason, I everything I was writing there was, with that feeling of having a little girl, right? But of course, that specific song, I remember that she was like connected somehow, like looking, like a baby would do, but like enjoying the melody. I have this feeling, and then I said, "Well, that's a song for her, a perfect rhyme," like me, my wife, and Livia, my daughter. And then is guitar, almost clean guitar, and like an orchestration or orchestra. Of course, MIDI, samples and stuff like that. So that was 2012. The album came out. So few months ago, there's like a public school there in Finland. They do like this event with the Helsinki Orchestra. It's like the main orchestra of the country, like a main European orchestra. They bring the kids, some to play with the orchestra and some soloists, and of course classical music. But then my wife had an idea to try to put that song because they do a test. So my daughter went there to play that my song that I did for her, to try to be a soloist of this event, playing guitar, and then they accepted, which is a cool thing because was not a classical composer. It's like me, and second because it was electric guitar, and it's like I think it was the first time in this kind of event they had electric guitar. That was a beautiful event because it's in the main opera house of Helsinki, with the main orchestra is like full on. It's like having like Boston Philharmonica with it's amazing, and playing my song, with John Williams. It was like John Williams, and then my composition with the orchestra. Of course, then we gave for professionals to do their full arrangements for the orchestra, and then it was amazing to see her. I was so nervous.
Oh, I bet. That was so cool to see, though. Did you ever think that was going to happen when you made that way back so long ago, 2012?
Yeah, because we don't do thinking about those results. That's my point. When I said when you write a song, it's a great feeling that you have. When you put that song, because it's so hard to write ideas and to finish an idea, right? That that's my idea and that's it. And then to go to a studio to record that and put it out with the fear of rejection is enormous. And then of course you're going to give away. You're going to stop somewhere. You're going to stop somewhere. So the fact you just record the song and then you put it out for people to listen to is already a win, and it's your song there. Then later, 11 years later, you have your daughter playing that song in that like beautiful opera house with the orchestra of like those amazing musicians, high top class. Was of course you never, how can I guess that? The same when I was learning my pentatonics. Because like that would become a professional musician that will be, talking to you now. They're going to be traveling the world and, just paying my bills, playing guitar. Think about that, like paying my bills and having my family and kids and still doing the same thing, playing guitar and teaching music and traveling, going on stage and recording my own music. It's crazy. Instrumental music, guitar music. It's not even heavy metal. It's like
movies,
isn't it? Huh?
Movies. Didn't you do a movie thing?
Yeah, there was a movie. Yeah, I recorded. I was not the entire movie. It was like a classical, a classical guitar thing for the movie, but it was amazing as well. That was so cool. I went to the premiere of the movie, and then the movie starts with my classical guitar. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because I love classical guitar and I love playing classical guitar, but I'm a metal guitarist as my primary job, right? But the fact of not having fear that's a mentorship. So it's about here. Like I can do it, and then, you find your way to do it. I don't play anything super technical in the classical guitar because I'm not able to, but I can play something, slower, or like something like Conquer or Die from Megadeth. That's a bit more technical, but and still like not super technical. And then I find my way to make music in a way that I'm comfortable with technically, and that I can express myself. So yeah, I mean, if you have Bob Dylan playing guitar, he's not the greatest guitar player. You have so many examples, people making music. You don't need to be technically advanced to make music, to write your own music. I keep saying that forever. Just sing any few notes in an A minor, man. And if you feel great about it, record it and do it over and over and over and do it. And then you find great ways to express yourself, And then I think like your channel, that's why I'm here, because I want to support you doing this. We had a great many conversations about your playing, maybe music. So you're doing the channel, and I think it's a great. I love YouTube. I think I'm like a great consumer. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. I have my channel. I think it's great. It's a great place to be, to talk about music, to live music, to express yourself, and then you're open.
Yeah, I can do
one day. You can do those podcasts, conversations, interviews. You can do the videos like you did about the Beato book and the Sweating Bullets. That was super cool. And then what else? And then you can do one day your songs, and then you can show the journey, learning the song, learning how to play, going to the studio. It's amazing. I really support you to do this, and that's why I'm having fun here, having this conversation. I'm talking a lot. Sorry, I had something in the Breakfast Club coffee.
Well, before we wrap up, before we stop, I have a request that won't be on the video, but it's a personal thing. But is there anything that you always want to say in an interview that you never get asked, or that you want to get out there that you're so busy promoting what you have to promote, you never get a chance to talk like this? You don't get to talk about the beekeeping, but is there any message you want out? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to say, if you're thinking about the Guitar Academy, your Instagram, you can check that. You usually have a sale once a year. It's very affordable, very worth it. The mentorship is for anyone, not just guitar players, and you do not have to be good at guitar if you have a good idea. You're looking for that. And so I would suggest anybody apply. The worst that can happen is they don't get it, but don't not apply because you think you have to be good at guitar or have a career path. My thing said I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I did not know I would end up right here. I thought it was going to be something else.
Exactly. It's all about trying to find, and
that's
then
what made it priceless.
Dedicate your time to. You came to the concert. Remember, that was cool. So
big side stage. Got ran off by security, which was kind of fun, but it was such a great experience.
Yeah. I had to explain this story. It was not that bad. Like it sounded like you came. No, you were able to. We watched the Five Finger few songs together. Then I had to leave because we're on tour. And then you stayed there without a pass or something. But you were able to watch the show, right?
Yeah,
On stage.
And Ivan Moody was saying hi to us, and everybody was very nice. We knew to stay out of the way. And it was nice in the backstage video you did. I recognized some of the people, like the guy running the lights. And so that's why I want to kind of showcase them. So we have a thing going with maybe another person that that I'm supposed to contact for an interview to kind of showcase some behind the scenes people. I want to get Ricky Rackman. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's doing a media tour thing, but yeah, it's priceless what you get out of the mentorship. But you also could join it and do nothing. You don't force us to do anything. And I've seen people argue everything you say to your face. I'm not going to name names, but one particular person was like, just arguing everything. And but you're not here to make us do stuff, and you're just giving direction, really white glove. It's up to us, and that's the value in it, is getting us to do the work. Instead of a
Not
diet
kids,
pill,
right?
you're teaching us how to exercise.
You guys are not kids, and I understand how difficult it is nowadays. I mean, life is difficult. You know, if you have a family, you have a job, and you want to add music to your life. I'm not there to make you stressed. You know, I want you to have results. It can be small doses. It can be like a full album, 6 months. I don't know. It's up to you, and it's up to you, whatever you have in life. I have so many examples of guys they go through the mentorship or they come back after because they feel they need that be with me every mentorship. By the way, it's like 12 meetings. We stay like 4, 5, 6 hours together in a small group, and we discuss about everything is possible to make. I listen and try to understand where the best place for that person. You know, knowing with all my knowledge in the music business and the career stuff like that, and yeah, but it doesn't mean you have to have a result right away. Sometimes you see guys having the results 6 months later, a year later. It's like, oh, you know, that's normal. Even when you learn some scale or something, you don't know exactly how to use that thing, but after later, it's like, oh, now finally I'm connecting the dots. You know, I'm connecting the things. You know, sometimes it takes time for you to realize some stuff. You know, of course, myself, I wish some stuff I would. You know, it took me decades to understand or not be afraid. You know, of doing things. But yeah, that's the mentorship is like more. That's why it's a mentorship. It's like more like a mentality, mindset kind of thing. The Guitar Academy is more scales, triads, as you made fun, scale triads, harmony, learning things, but in a nice environment that is about putting the effort to learn and being there every day or every other day to learn. And there's no competition, and then it doesn't matter if you're gonna take years or months to get there. It doesn't matter. It's just like doing stuff, and then I think it's amazing. And treating music as one big thing. You know, I mean, I'm known as a rock metal guitar player, but we talk about a lot about the guys, the metal dudes, the death metal dudes. They're like analyzing jazz, harmony, because why not? It's knowledge. Why? And then in a few months, the guys are analyzing all the real book and the jazz and stuff. Why not?
Yeah, then, 4 or 5 songs a session now. They used to just get through one. Well, I really appreciate this. We've been going about an hour 40, so that's way more generous than I thought.
Thank you, man.
I just have
Richard,
one thing.
thank you.